So, let's see, he's got a helicopter now, so he's shelling my infantry. Now, I've got 22,000, my opponent's got 15,000. Now he's slaughtering my infantry, look. So I'm trying to hit these. Got one artillery piece taken out. Now I'm attacking some of his infantry. My tanks are helping keep me in this engagement because my opponent hasn't got any, but my tanks are getting slaughtered, and I thought all I've got is the APC, so the engineer has to run off.
Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder. It's Dvoid here. I've got a 1v1 multiplayer game, and this map is called Separateness, and I've been using this map a few times recently. I quite like it. I've been trying to use different maps and include as many different maps in my posts as possible, and this is one of the maps that I've discovered and that I quite like. It's not a large map, it's average size, and you've got oil derricks, one close to each base, reasonably close, and one in the centre, so it's a simple setup for the oil derricks, but it does, you know, it's got the early game features. You can intercept engineers, or try to. So, you know, it's got all the basic features, and the ore patches are quite substantial. So there aren't a lot of them, but, you know, they're important. And it's just that style of map where there aren't loads of different ore patches, and look, even at the start, you could use a 2-ref build, because it's all in one patch. So, right from the spawn point, there are limited numbers of ore patches, but they are large. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm in red. I'm using Russia. My opponent, in his mint green, is using England. And I've got my engineer here, so my opponent is making some effort to intercept. And it looks like he's trying to cut my reinforcement line or catch my engineer. And this rifleman has actually revealed, look, and he's held up the enemy and distracted them. He's done his job. And I sent another rifleman just to make sure my engineer was still escorted, and when I saw the enemy, I backed away. Now, I've got a few rifles here, and I actually ordered them to move into the battle zone, but then I thought, no, I don't know where he's going with these riflemen, so I need something at my base. Plus, when I was about to train more riflemen, which should be now, at the 2-minute mark, they are at the base, so I'm protecting it as best I can. Rifles at the back, and there are these small patches at the in the corners here, look, of gems I should say, and here I've moved north with my rifles, and I'm taking my engineer with me. I'm trying, look, there's the enemy engineer, risky, but I'm trying to capture this. So I've got one oil derrick and the central oil derrick. My opponent's got one, but I'm about to try and take it away from him. And my opponent's got a radar dome, and he's gone for a helipad, so that's very interesting. No war factory yet. I've got my war factory. Obviously I'm going for a standard build. But at this point, it's not even the 3-minute mark. I've only got a few rocket soldiers, so if my opponent is going for the helicopter, that's, you know, that's going to be his first target, because I've seen it done before. And I won't be aware of any of this. I've captured all the oil derricks, so at this point I'll be confident. I'll be thinking, alright, it's not a bad start, I'm doing okay, and I'll have no idea of these helicopters. But now he's got one, and he's sent it on some sort of patrol route, but my engineer here, these can't protect him. They're just riflemen. And there you go, look at that. Been caught out, and I'm within his view range because of the helicopter. Now I've moved this forward and saw that he only had rifles, so I thought I'd move back and attack, not realising he's got a stack of rockets, look. So by the time I realised, that was it. Doomed, lost the engineer, and now I'm using the view range of my oil derrick, and that's given me a bit of an advantage. But the helicopter, I'm getting shots off, look. There's no, that's it, no more rocket soldiers left, and his helicopter survived. But he's trimmed my rocket soldiers down, and he's bringing a second helicopter straight away. Now, I'm struggling to build up numbers of rocket soldiers. I've got 3, and 2 at the front are dead. Now there's 1 rocket soldier, so he can just trim away my infantry. Anytime he likes, he can then move forward with the rest of his force. So at this point, I'm realising I'm in trouble, but I should be building a flak truck. I should be building 3. And I'm not. At the moment, I'm building, obviously, I need my MCV. And now I'm building heavy tanks, but I should be building 3 flak trucks. That's my mistake. And what I did was increase the numbers of rocket soldiers I've got, so it's a decent little force, and I'm still trying to hold on to the centre. So let's look at army values. Yeah, I'm falling behind. And look, here we go. He's got 3 helicopters. And look, I can't fire back. And he's killed all my rocket soldiers. Look, you know I'm in trouble. These helicopters are going to finish off the rest. If they can no, they're not even getting shots off. All my forces are being cut to pieces. So, and my opponent still hasn't got a war factory. So he's going for the early kill and taking the chance that he can destroy me with this. And because I haven't gone for my flak trucks, I've lost so much of my force. So far, I've lost, like, a large amount of infantry for nothing. And I could have taken the engagement if it weren't for the helicopter, because he's got no vehicles, obviously, but I know it doesn't work like that. If he didn't have the helicopters, he would have vehicles, and he's a good player, but this build caught me out, and I've just started to build a flak truck there. And I've got my first expansion and my eco-transfer, so I'm okay there, but my opponent has just got a war factory. So, he won't be that well off for cash and for other assets, you see. So, it wasn't over at all. He's not got... If we look at the combat value, he's only got a 12,000 army. After all the losses I've been suffering, that's not, you know... and I saw the flak truck fire as it went past. I just didn't know what it was firing at. Now, I'm getting this out of here, but the helicopters can chase it. And then they chase the flak truck, and I haven't killed a helicopter yet. Now, I've got 2 refineries, but these ore trucks are having to leave my primary expansion. But I had a plan for them. Now, I'm trying to send my army, 8,000 army value, nearly 9, to my opponent's 15,000 army value. Now, I know it was too late, and I can't reach him to fight with the structure's view range as an advantage, so I didn't know what to do here at this point. And he's spotted me, look, and can back away, so he knows what I'm doing and what to do. So I need to replenish my flak truck numbers. Hopefully I'll be building one now. Yep. Now my opponent's got an MCV moving for an expansion. And look, he's picking off my rocket soldiers. And that means these forces are extremely weak because I've got no rocket soldiers. It's so much value that he's killing by picking off those rocket soldiers. They're not even firing in return because he's just picking them off quickly because he's got superior view range, so he can just open up and kill my rocket soldiers. You can even order them with shift Q attacks, so he can hold shift and target 3 or 4 rocket soldiers and they'll be dead in a second. Before they can even destroy a helicopter. Now, I've got flak trucks. I'm bringing them with me because I have to have flak trucks. And I'm sending this home base MCV. Now, I can't build structures at the moment, but the reason I did that is because I've got no credits. Look, I've got no money. So now moving forward, look, not overcommitting, but I had no credits, so I'm letting some credits build up and using these emergency supplies of ore. While I move this forward, now I can start building, and I still haven't got credits, so I haven't wasted any, you know, time or anything really. Now he's moving around with the helicopters. Look, I'm trying to keep the flak trucks away so they don't get picked off first, but I knew I had to sort of bring an engagement and try and fight before it was too much and I got overwhelmed. Now I took out a helicopter, that's it. And he's firing at the wrong... he got one. And I couldn't quite finish the last helicopter. I tried to save my tank. Let's look at the army values after that. I'm at 1,600. My opponent's at 14,000. So I've really suffered for the whole game. And it's only that he went for this tech build and he didn't have mass, the usual amount of mass. Why? That's the only reason I've not been destroyed. Is because it was a build focused on keeping me basically crippled and on the back foot. And it is vulnerable at first, but that vulnerability is countered by how well he used it against me. Now you see he's just preparing a force to hit me here. So he knows what he's doing. He knows he's got me. I'm at 5,700 army value. My opponent's got 18,000 army value. But I am trying to set up another expansion. And I have got plenty of ore trucks. This is trying to flee. But I left it there, look. And that was a complete accident. That should be still on its way. While these guys, this army, meets it. And it's packing up and trying to get away. But it was just a really fumble. Luckily, I've still got a construction yard intact. So, yes, now I've lost... I've got a flat truck there, but I've lost so much. And the helicopters, they just provide an excellent view range. It balances out, look, me having structures to defend. You know, it just balances it out so well. I've got an engineer there. Balances it out so well. The best view range in the game, I believe. Blackhawks, aircraft like that. Yaks probably have the same view range, but it's the best view range you can get on a Blackhawk. And because they hover still there, they're safe and easy to handle. So I'm moving in here. I thought I wanted to go over this way and try and set up make a stand elsewhere, but then I thought, well, I may as well fight with structures giving me view range benefit to try and destroy this mass. And it was the best option I had. But yeah, he's taking out my rocket soldiers. This force is now ineffective, and that's the end of that. Like, I've got this here, and all these ore trucks can then drop off their stuff, and I've got engineers. Look, I'm actually going to hopefully go on a capture, but he's got defences. He's already well and truly ready to stop me. Plus, anything I do, he's going to discover with his helicopters and destroy me. So, yeah, these engineers, it was a futile effort. Futile. And he does the perfect thing. What he does is, he uses his helicopters, and look, he's targeting the refinery. That's the perfect choice, because all these ore trucks can no longer drop off any ore. And I've got no cash. So all that money, he's just cut off from me. So it was a perfect manoeuvre to take out the refinery like that. Absolutely perfect. And there you go. Because of that devastating final blow, I've called it. But I'm going to add another replay to this and to this post, and I'll just go through the graphs and charts. But yeah, that was the point, obviously, where I got hit by the helicopters, because the value of my army would have dropped because of me losing my rocket soldiers, and I never recovered. You know, I tried, and I was increasing army size at almost the same rate my opponent was at one point, but then I'm just taking devastating losses. One there, and then a bad hit right early on where I'd lost my rocket soldiers. And it meant that replacing them and having to build more rocket soldiers was a big drain on my early income. And that's, you know, that's one of the really nice aspects of the early helicopter build, is that it forces your opponent to expend lots of credits, and it just drains them dry, sucks them dry, drains your opponent. Very well done. And this player, Mint, demonstrated, I think, is it Ekanim? Yes, it is. His name's Ekanim, his registered name. But he goes by Mint, and he's demonstrated the helicopter build quite effectively there. All the way I was on the back foot. Well done to him, so fair play. You know, I wasn't ready for it, but I believe I should have built flat trucks early. Because when a player uses this kind of helicopter build, especially if he doesn't have a war factory, that's really going all in. What I like to do is, immediately as soon as I see or hear a helicopter, I immediately build a group of flat trucks, and that counters the helicopter. Try and start destroying them before he can build up enough, and then that makes this build a liability. That's the way I try to counter it. So I should have been more on the ball and built a group of flat trucks straight away. And the thing is, when I'm taking losses from 1 or 2 Blackhawks early, and they're picking off my rocket soldiers and backing off, that's when a small group of flat trucks is more free and capable of getting around the map and ambushing them on the way home. And if you destroy their early numbers of helicopters, the first few, it makes that build a liability because, you know, they're without their primary asset and that they've invested in. So if you can defend against it right, counter it with the nice group of cheap flak trucks and make that build a liability, that's the best way of countering it. You know, don't get shot up and then build more rocket soldiers for him to just shoot them all and lose. That's not how you do it. But, you know, fair play to my opponent, it worked because he did it well. But there's the army graph. It just shows you I was under serious pressure the whole game. But here's the earnings, and I had a nice earnings spike there. Look at that. And then just losses. It was a down slope all the way on that army graph for the rest of that. My opponent's finishing army, he's got a decent amount of tanks and helicopters now, so by 12 minutes he's got a perfectly decent force. Let's see the army value, 27,000, and considering it was an early tech build, that's quite good. You know, so but he's got 1 barracks. That's a vulnerability. Any build order that has 1 barracks, it's very vulnerable because if you destroy it, he can't build base defences. So yeah, that's why you're supposed to send more scouts out and stuff, and your eco raids discover things like this. If your force gets attacked and defeated, send the last few units around the map to check where he's got expansions. If there isn't one, send it on further to the next ore patch, and things like that. Just make a nuisance of any small army groups left. And in my last post against General Carl, the second game, he demonstrated that very well. How you use a group of units, even those ones that have been defeated in an engagement, you can still continue to make use of them. And he demonstrates very well how to do that. There's the combat graph. I best get a move on and show the second game. My opponent, like I say, is 27,000 army value. So that's very good. I killed 102 units. My opponent killed 206. I lost 19 structures and I didn't get any of my opponents. That's a shame. I did destroy 24,000 credits worth of his assets. My opponent destroyed 59,000 credits worth of my assets. Shocking. Support powers, no, there are no support powers in effect. My opponent does have a helipad, the Allies helipad, but they don't get support powers. The Russians get support powers from their airfield though. Production... He's building a tech centre, so he would be counting down on the GPS soon. Very nice and early to have that, you know, that's good. It's a good build. And he's building more Blackhawks. Very nice. His economy, he's got 6 ore trucks left, and he's hung on to 2 oil derricks. The central one he retook, and that one took them back. And let's see, I earned 67,000. My opponent earned 77,000. He's got 7 grand saved up, so he's doing well. You know, decent army and plenty to spend with. I was at 28 actions per minute. My opponent was at 67 actions per minute, so he was seriously working away. Blimey. That's one of the highest actions per minute. That's more than an order a second. Well, okay, yeah, he's obviously on form if he's doing that. But there you go, there's the graphs and charts. And I'm going to go to a second replay, like I say, for this post. And it was one of the last games I played. This one here. And I thought I'll go on Timian map because I haven't used this one. Actually, it's one of my favourite maps and I haven't been using it much because I'm trying different maps. And for this game on Timian, I'm using Russia. My opponent's using England. Alright, so there we go. Another England. And we have... I'm using green for this game, though, because my opponent's colour is an orangey-reddy colour. So I thought I best not use my standard red. Because it'll, you know, on the video, and replay, it's sometimes not easy to tell with some colours. They look too similar. So just to be on the safe side, I go for my second build. But I sent my 4 riflemen out to hunt the enemy engineer before I train my own. So he's a little delayed this time. Now he's going for the oil derrick. Then he's going to be going for this one. My opponent's not training in engineer. Oh yeah, he's already got one, sorry, excuse me, he's up there. But he's got only a few rifles, so that's a War Factory first build he's decided on. I've got my second refinery underway. And my engineers captured my first oil derrick, so's my opponents. In fact, we're at the same place. Engineer-wise, they've made the same progress. You know, almost exactly in the same place. But my opponent is just going to run into 4 riflemen waiting. He's got 3 riflemen, he's just not even escorted them. There you go, I've picked him off. That was too easy. Now my opponent, see, is reacting, but I'm sending the veteran away and replacing him with a standard rifleman. So if the enemy does come hunting for him, he'll think he's gone, and I get to save a veteran. They'll think they've dealt with the guy who killed the engineer, because they can't see the veteran marking on this guy. You can't see your opponent's veteran ranks. So, I keep the veteran safe and just replace him with the normal rifleman. It's just a silly little tactic I use. You know, let the enemy think they've dealt with him, and you still get to keep the veteran unit. Now, I've noticed there's a vehicle, and I've got to rally these guys, but the engineer's vulnerable with them. Now, I've got my rocket soldiers starting to train, so there'll be a 3rd one soon. Here we go, he's a 3rd one training, but he caught all my riflemen out there, even my veteran's gone. So I'm trying to keep my engineers safe. Here's my war factory. And my opponent's got a service depot already. I wonder what he's building, let's have a look. He's building ore trucks still, so it's a bit early for the service depot, to be fair. And he's picking off all my rifle guards, and that's why I'm grouping most of my rifles together, because this range is just going to pick them all off. It's irritating, but that's what they do. When your enemy goes War Factory first build, they have free time to use a scout vehicle effectively. So I've put my engineer inside my APC to keep him safe, and the rest of my units together. I'm not sending out my rifle guards all over until this is dealt with. There you go, look, that's the end of that. So now I can reposition my rifles, look. You'll see them individually being split off, look. See, into different locations. Some to guard the base, some to the edges of the map, although I've got one there still. Now I'm going for the enemy's oil derrick because I know that he's not moved towards it. But yeah, like I say, the War Factory first build, it does, even when it's done this way, which isn't the usual way, it's slightly different. Your War Factory should be next to the ore for a start, if that's the only refinery you're building. But you should normally, after the War Factory, build a 2nd refinery, definitely, and then a 3rd on this map, so you can put one there. But we'll see how it's working. He's got 5 ore trucks, so that's okay. Now, he's behind in earnings, though. But I've only got 1 barracks at this point. I've just placed my 2nd. And I'll have another couple of barracks soon, because it's important I get 4 barracks as early as I can. Now, I do have I do have the service depot, but and the thing is, as soon as I have the service depot, I start building the MCV, because the 2nd ore truck rolls out just at the same time. So it is sort of timed so that you're not wasting any seconds, any precious seconds. You don't, say, for example, place the service depot and you're not building an MCV for another 2 minutes. You may as well have built a power plant and a couple of barracks if you're not building an MCV, and then build the service depot just when the MCV is ready to be built, when your war factory's free, because you have to churn out a couple of ore trucks first. Some builds have 2 ore trucks, some have 3, and it's timed depending on when you build your MCV, which is timed on when you place your service depot. But here you go, there's my expansion, and I need to place my refinery. You see, it's ready to place, so I'm obviously distracted. There, look, I'm ordering troops around. Now, that's a waste of time. So it's been about 5, 6 seconds, 7. How long is it going to be where I'm wasting build time? The refinery is just sat there, not ready to place. That's despicable. And I've placed my base defense, so my attention's back here. But yeah, I've got an eco raid, but he can't see what I've got. You see, when you do an eco raid like that, you let the vehicles come into range of you, and now he's seen I've got a good amount. So most players would respond with an attack. And then what you could do in that case is get half of the units and send them along the top of the map here, so that when he responds, you've got units ready to attack somewhere else. Just for example, I've seen it done. Now this is where I'm arranging units in different locations, and I've sent a tank to group together with these guys. Because, like I say, my opponent doesn't know where any of my units are. He hasn't sent out scouts. But he's got artillery, and that made me think, right, I need to watch it. Because I can't push into that, look. I didn't know what was there. But when I looked, I saw all that and thought, right, get out of there. I don't want to lose that, but I could also send this little force in to do an eco raid. So I did see the extent of his forces. He's got a respectable defensive force at least. He's got half the army value, look. But at least it's defensive. When used in a defensive engagement, it's decent. And he's got 3 artillery pieces now. So this isn't great. But everything's in my favour. Look, I've got the map under my control. I know now that I need to gather my army together and not mess about. Because when I saw no presence from him, I thought, oh, here we go. No need to worry. I'll just finish the game and move on. But then when I saw all that, I thought, well, hang on a minute. He's got a decent amount of units. So let's see. He's got a helicopter now. So he's shelling my infantry. Now I've got 22,000, my opponent's got 15,000. Now he's slaughtering my infantry, look. So I'm trying to hit these. Got 1 artillery piece taken out. Now I'm attacking some of his infantry. And my tanks are helping keep me in this engagement because my opponent hasn't got any. But my tanks are getting slaughtered, and I thought all I've got is the APC. So the engineer has to run off. Get some flamethrower work done, but these vehicles are being killed very quickly, and now I've got to get back. I've seen that's too much. I've overdone it. Now you need to fall back. And my opponent's at 15,000. Now he's at 14, but basically he's still at the same army value, and I've got 5,000 army value, so I'm in trouble, and my opponent's shelling the structures I've placed up front. And there's nothing I can do about that. I can't defend them. I have to fall back. And I thought, I've sent my... You see, that's why you expand forward. Because if you have to fall back, you can then set up your MCV and mine here. And I'm still in control of this, but I'm still expanding, look. And that's why you expand forward here to this patch first. And now, look, I haven't even set up a proper eco transfer until now. So I wasn't, I should have been more prepared. And I shouldn't have let so many units be slaughtered like that. Those artillery pieces, and you see he's finishing off my the assets I had forward, and his helicopters are spotting, making sure I'm not going to attack again. But I should send a few units here. So at this point, I've destroyed 9,400 of my credits worth of my opponent's units. My opponent has destroyed 29,000 credits worth of my assets. That is brutal. And the army values, I'm at 13,000 army value, my opponent's at 18,000 army value, so after that massacre he's ahead. But I've changed my tactics. I've got an aircraft of my own for view range. I'm still building tanks because I know that is my advantage. Yeah, he slaughtered my tanks, but I still have faith in my heavies and that they will maintain the advantage for me. But I'm also building my own artillery. My opponent's got artillery pieces, look. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 at least, and so I'm building V2s for my own artillery. And here we go, look. This is my view range. I can use my structures, and my opponent's using his helicopters. So he's wise to back away, because he hasn't brought in anything like what you need enough to stop me. But I also need flak trucks. Where are they? Flak trucks are essential because flak trucks protect your V2s. And my opponent should be shooting barrels near my infantry. It's wasteful not to shoot those barrels. And I brought my MCV forward and I've got a proper eco transfer. He's trying to pick off that weak tank, look. And I've tried to repair it once or twice. I've just, for some reason, called it back. It's stupid of me. But I'm training more tanks. I need There you go, I've got my radar dome, which means I've got SAM sights. But you see the AA guns for the Allies, then that field radius is so much wider field range on their AA guns compared to the SAM sights for the Russians. A lot less range on the SAM sight, but here you go, I've slaughtered those units and they're on a move command, so I don't know what he was doing there. Maybe he doesn't know exactly how to use... Oh, right. Oh, well, that's why he was best off standing still. Look, yes, and now he's picking off specific targets and stuff. So he's not using attack move and fighting properly. He should have stood still, which is why it was more effective. But those V2s have slaughtered his army. And now I've taken out the AA gun. I've got the superior range from my air unit. And he's got a helicopter now, but that's of no use to him anymore. That's it. And my opponent's asking how I built so many units. So I just need to... And also, this is a tech build where I built an early radar dome. So it's not... And I've got a tech centre, so it's actually less units than I would have. And I replied that you need 7 barracks. And also to watch my replay and copy the build order. But, like I say... This isn't as many units as normal because I got the radar dome and the tech centre early and an airfield early, and look, I've built AA defences and everything, so the army isn't as big as it could have been. So my opponent, you know, he's got a lot to learn, and I didn't realise about all those orders he was giving. When he finally attacked, I didn't know he was using those move commands and attacking individual targets. That's like old school Red Alert tactics where you have to target one unit at a time, but it doesn't work like that in Openra because you need the attack move to get your mass of forces attacking all at once. You know, it's a very different system of combat. But I'll go through the graphs and charts for that one. Look at that. I was way ahead and had a far larger army, and then I got that massacre where I ran headlong into his forces. Oh, good for him doing that. Yeah, good for him, because that's what happened to him, look, but worse. So, and I took very few losses in that final engagement. That was a shame, that. So he needs some attack lessons. His strength lies in defence so far. Very interesting army graph. Look at the losses. Savage. He could have, if he'd learnt to attack, all he'd have to do is do an attack move, and he could have easily taken the territory up to here, and he could possibly have cut me off from that. You never know if he'd done an attack move. That's all it would have taken. But here's the earnings graph. Yeah, my opponent was okay for earnings, but I think that eco raid where I demonstrated how you use an eco raid that the enemy can't see, let the enemy Autrox come to you, because then they don't know how much to respond with and things like that. Plus, you can send some of them off to a separate target when he does respond. There's so much you can do, and by having your eco raids hidden, it makes them so much more effective and gives you so many more options, rather than just rushing in there and attacking and letting him see what you've got. Then he can immediately gauge his response. He knows what he has to send and what else he's got spare. So it's just so much more effective when they're hidden eco raids. You know, all the skillful players will do their eco raids in that way. But there's the finishing army, a large mix of units, because I had to adapt and change. I couldn't just have standard units and run into that like blender. It was a slaughter, that first attack, but I've got a 22,000 army value. I killed 157 enemy units. My opponent killed 187 of mine, so he did well. I lost 5 structures because he did overtake and destroy these assets here, but my opponent lost 15 structures, and I destroyed 57,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 41,000 credits worth of my assets. Support powers, I've got my spy plane and paratroopers counting down. I did use the spy plane. I think I used it to check if it expanded here. That's the only support power I'd used, I believe. But I've got more SAM sites ready to place and training rocket soldiers, heavy tanks. Back to standard stuff now. I've got the advanced assets. But if the game had gone on, I would have started to add Tesla troops to my infantry. Just at first, until I knew that my economy could support things like mammoth tanks and Iron Curtain. But yeah, I've got plenty of cash, so I probably would have soon moved on to even more advanced assets, maybe even Tesla tanks. But there's the economy tab. Let's see basics. I was at 30 actions per minute. My opponent was at 36 actions per minute, but giving orders more quickly than I was. And there's your scores, 546 to 398. And there's your basics and graphs and charts. I hope you enjoyed the games. If you did, give us a sub and a like. And take good care of yourselves. And for now, thank you very much and goodbye.
Battle control terminated.